Yes, hi, this is Chuck Sheltonbrand, and today's topic is an important one. It's called groups. Actually, the seminar I called Keeping Your Search Organized, because organizing a search is one of the main functions, or one of the better functions of this group's feature in RESUMate. So up here at the top of the screen, this row of tabs across the top has, as the rightmost tab, groups. If I click that, it pops open this screen, and here's the idea. Groups are nothing more or less than subfolders of your database, an organizing tool, a way to set up small groups of records that have a particular purpose. It's the way that I think most often we normally work. If you were to have on your desktop some manila folders, for example, that had all of the paperwork that you need, all of the records that you need to take on a certain task, that's the analog of how this groups function works. It's like having a folder on your desktop that has all the stuff you need for a particular purpose. And it's completely yours to create. Everybody does this differently because people work differently. So this little roster of group names, people I want to stay in touch with, key decision makers, do not use people who owe me a resume. These are just examples of how you might want to think about setting up subfolders in your database. The idea is that when you have created folders like this, here I've got 10 people, it says here, you can click around, but I've got candidates who have my resume. Well, there's 10 of them, it says. Here's the thing. If I double click the group name, look what happens. A window opens up, in this case, a window of 10, who are just the people that owe you a resume. Here's my main database. I have 46 records in my little database here, but here's a separate window with just people that owe me a resume. I could go back there. This says I'm playing voice tag with some people that I really care about. I'm going to double click this. And so here's the people, but here's a window of the 6 people who I want to get in touch with and stop the tag and so on. Here's my people who owe me a resume. Here's my main database. The idea is that underneath this top row, in which we identify candidates, clients, job orders, the daily planner, and so on. Well, here's a little row underneath it, which represent essentially subfolders of the main database folder itself. And of course, search results would go here too. If I did a search, the search result window would open up here. So the point with groups is that, first of all, I can identify a group that matches my normal workflow or work process. And then once I start putting records in that group, I can call them up on my screen at any one time. And that is an enormously helpful organizing tool. It just reflects kind of the way I think that people have worked for a long time. You have projects, and you could think of these as project folders. Everything you need for a project is included in this little group that you've set up. Now, let's look at something here. It couldn't be easier to create a group and then to put records into the group. So let's make a new group. And up here at the top, first of all, in this customization row, so to speak, it says I can filter. So if I have multiple people in my set of records, and multiple recruiters, I should say, sharing the same database file, everybody's initials would appear here. Click. Oh, here's just the groups that person has set up. I'll go back to kind of my default here. Click. Here's the subfolders that I've set up for this CLS initials. Buttons that say new and edit. Now, normally, when you think about computer stuff, it normally says add, edit, and delete. You can add stuff, new group. You can edit stuff, make changes, but there's a delete button as well, add, edit, and delete. Well, there's no delete button here, and that's on purpose, actually, because we wanted to make it difficult to delete a group. Difficult in the sense that you don't want to inadvertently delete a group of your own, or worse, delete somebody else's group, because think about it for just a second. A group is a judgment call. It's your decision as to who is a key decision maker and people you want to stay in touch with. Well, if somebody came along and deleted that after you put, maybe 6 months had this in existence, and it's getting to be more valuable as time goes on, and somebody gets rid of it, whoa, that would not be a good thing. So there is no button here, and I'll show you. In fact, I'll show you right now so I don't forget. I've forgotten to do this in other seminars. If you click File, Database, Tools, the standard old File, Database, Tools, well, here in the Tools menu is a thing called Groups Maintenance. We have Recruiter Maintenance, Telephone. Well, here's Groups Maintenance. Click. And then here's the Delete button. So you can delete a group, but we make it a little bit more difficult. I'm going to get rid of, I saw some clutter in there, so I'm going to go to that recruiter, and then let's get rid of highway people, because that was in a demonstration, I think, of some kind. So I'm going to say delete, and the highway people is gone. Say OK, close this, go back to my main groups tab, and now we don't have highway people here anymore. So indeed, you can delete a group, but creating a new group is utterly simple. Click the button. Give it a name. So let's call it engineers for no good reason. So I can just type in the name. I can right now it's defaulting to me, but I could pick any recruiter's initials out of the list. I'm saying that's an active group, and now I can go down here, scroll down through here's a pot of gold. We'll make that be our engineers group. So there's an icon, and then the title, and then my initials, and then there's nothing in here, 000, because you can put candidates in a group and clients in a group and job orders in a group, but right now I got nothing in there. Let's jump back to our main candidates folder and go to the top of the pile here. And so here is a person who's got a lot of groups. The groups to which a record has been connected appear. He's not attached. So here's the groups icon is a green push pin. Well, here's a plus symbol with a green. If I click this, let's put him in the engineers folder, and we'll say OK. And we'll say save. If adding it to a group puts him into, as a change of the record, you got to click save. So now the groups to which he belongs appear right on his screen. I could come back here, by the way, and put him into the key decision maker set and say OK. In other words, and I'll click save again. He can be a member of as many groups as you want, but if I go back to the groups tab now, well, now my engineers group has one because I put him into that group. So putting individual records into a group couldn't be simpler. Green push pin, plus sign green push pin, click, put a check mark next to whatever you want, and he's good to go. But obviously, you might sometimes want to put a whole bunch of records into a group at the same time. And in particular, as we get to the topic of the day, a little closeout here when we talk about keeping a search organized. Let's say that you did a search and you want to take the people that you found in a search and put them into a group as a batch. So let's just do that real quick. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass. I'm going to do a little simple search of my resumes here, single finger typing, and say begin. And I find 9 records who have somewhere, if I scroll down, I'll find the word engineer in bold red. But now let's do what I think you do in real life, which is to say you look at a record, you look at your notes over here, you look at the resume and say whether this is a keeper or not a keeper. And if it's not, you click the red X. I don't want this person on this job, but don't want him either. This person looks promising, not so hot, not so, it clicks them out. When you're done getting rid of people, click search and refresh, and my 9 has now been skinnied down to 5. Now I want to put these 5 people into a group. Simple. The word groups appears in the menu line. So not only is groups a tab, but in the menu line, groups, click, bulk assign groups, click. I can now grab my engineer group and it's my initials, and I'm going to say assign. It says warning 5 records. Are you sure? And I say I'm sure. Okay. And it's done. Okay. And close. Go back to my groups tab, and now my engineer set has 6 records. One I put in one at a time, and then 5 that I added from a search. So putting records into a group in bulk is easy to do, and there are 3 ways that I think you can put bulk records into a group. I mean, it's kind of that you can actually put bulk records into the database. And let's go back to the candidate tab. If I click this icon, click the 3rd one down. I don't want to save the criteria, no. Import Express. This is the Windows and Outlook. I can grab either Windows folders or Outlook folders and go grab a whole ton of things at a time. And this is a separate seminar that we talked about last week. But now there's a step 7, automatic groups assignment. If I identify, well, let's just make it look a little more realistic here. If I grabbed a whole bunch of people and said, okay, so all these people are going to come flying in here, and they take about 1 second apiece. But I could click my little groups deal, and I could put them in my engineers group. Now, I could put them in any group, obviously, but the point is, not only is search an opportunity to put records into a group in bulk, but Import Express, something that people use all the time. So it has the opportunity now, the function now that you can take records coming in from Import Express, put them into a group, and that makes sense in this way. Let's say that you went to Career Builder and you found a whole bunch of records and you emailed them. They all come to yourself as individual emails, and you use Import Express to take all those records found at Career Builder and put them in the database. Well, once they're merged in, once you finish this Import Express function, hey, they're just in the database. They're just like any other record in the database. Having the ability with a click from the Groups tab to put just those Career Builder records on your screen, that's a good thing to do, because you may want to do editing. Remember, we don't stop. Import Express is an automated, unattended function. So you just pile the records in, but you could come back at any time. We're not going to do that, but I went to Groups. Remember how it works here. Let's put our CLS guy up here again. If I wanted to see, let's say I put a whole bunch of people on that engineering deal here, double click. Well, there's the group. So I could go back and review the records that were brought in from an Import Express function. Now, the other way that you can bring stuff in bulk is File, Database Tools, Import Wizard. So not Import Express, but Import Wizard. Click. Now, this is essentially a spreadsheet tool. If you've got a spreadsheet and you want to bring a whole bunch of records, every row in the spreadsheet becomes a record in the database. We talk about this next week, so we'll go into this in more detail. I just want to show you, I'm going to kind of see if I can blow right through this. So I'm not trying to demonstrate how to do this. I'm just going to try to show that it can be done. So I'm going to, let's see if we can click our way to the end here. And indeed we can. The last, I'm ready to click begin on Import Wizard, but it says assign imported records to groups. So if I'm bringing in a spreadsheet full of records, the example that I give in this particular seminar would be that you import a file of client companies from a directory product like Hoover's, and you want to be able to put those new records that you've just added to the database as target recruit companies for a particular search. Well, the fact that you can bring records in from a spreadsheet and automatically assign them to groups, is highly useful. So the point is, I'm going to bail out of here and not finish this out, but the point is, not only can I put records in one at a time, if I'm on somebody's record, click the plus symbol. Here's a whole bunch of obsolete groups, but I marked them as inactive, so they're still showing up, which is good. But here's my engineers tab. I could put this person if he's not already there. Let's just put him in. He's already in that group. The point is, one at a time, click the plus symbol. Do a search result, click Groups, Bulk Assign Groups. Import Express, at the end of the function, just click in step number 7, Automatic Groups Assignment. And then if you're bringing in a spreadsheet, the last screen in the Import Wizard function also allows you to take all those, every record created from a row in the spreadsheet gets added to the group. So I think Groups is one of the best organizing tools that we've ever put into the database and into the program. And it really, I think, makes the database in an honest way friendlier, because it allows you to create, absolutely to your own specification, your own liking. When we, a set of subfolders and a set of project folders, whatever you want to call it, and that's a neat thing to do. When we send RESUMate to a new user, this is empty. There are no groups. When we send it, here, if we go back to, let's go back to File Database Tools for a second. File Database Tools, edit valid table. When we send the program, we send it with I think 5 columns already loaded, and then you can click column and import, and you can bring different industry specialization. We preload, in other words, the valid table. There's stuff in here as a starting point, but groups has no starting point. If you click here and you're brand new, this is empty, because everybody does this differently. It has to be customized for a particular person. So couldn't be simpler. You can make groups, you can edit groups. Let's take our engineers group and we'll mark it as, we would have to edit it. So if I edit and make it inactive, then it's going to disappear. So I think I have to close and come back in or something. Yeah, so now it's marked at, I'd have to click show inactive groups for engineers to reappear, but if I take that check mark off, the idea is when you're done with a group, you may not want to delete it. You may just want to mark it as inactive because there's good stuff in there, right? At least we hope there's good stuff in there. And let's say that you had, well, we'll do it next. We'll look at some group titles or group ideas that you may find useful for keeping a search organized. Well, when the search is over, you wouldn't want to delete your groups, just mark them as inactive. Because if you, in the future, had a similar search, what could be better than having all of your working papers from the prior effort all available to you? If you had put not only candidates, but client companies and job orders in the group, all as sort of records. Think of it as a project folder, and you put in clients with whom you've done similar placements, job orders that were similar. You just kind of assemble into your project folder all of the records in your database that might be helpful for successfully completing the project. Well, when it's done, you don't want to keep it. It clutters up. Heck, if I don't hide inactive groups, a lot of clutter here. But if I just hide them, the clutter goes away. But the content, which may prove valuable on a future date, the content is still there. So keep your active groups. And some of these sets, I think, the one, ironically, that I think everybody seems to say yes to is do not use candidates. Having a place where you can always check and see that somebody, you could make sure that somebody that you're going to submit on a job is not in this folder because you don't want to be burned a second time and so forth. So having these little folders is highly useful. And I think, I use this myself. I live and die with this all the time. I have lots of different projects that I'm working on at any one time, and every project has a group name because I can assemble all the records I need for that project. But now let's look at, I'm going to switch the recruiter title to BF, who's Benjamin Franklin in our little set of recruiters here. So here's the set of recruiter, here's a set of rather group titles that I think might be useful in terms of literally the seminar topic. I've called the topic Keeping Your Search Organized. In essence, we're talking about groups, but keeping your search organized is one application, one useful way of using groups. So my idea was the following. I think, and my pretend search here is for launch vehicle designers, if there are such people. That's a made-up term, but anyway, I've got to bet it's a real thing. So if I have a new search, no matter what it's for, it could be for regulatory affairs manager or something, who knows, any title. RESUMate I put as parentheses because I think you'd start the search by searching your RESUMate database and seeing who have I got, and do that thing that I was showing a minute ago when I did my little pretend search. I use the red X to knock people out because, again, data takes you only so far. In the end, your judgment has to come into play. So do a search, start winnowing the search down by using the red X to knock records out of the search. They're not out of the database, they're just out of the search. When the search is done and you've narrowed it down, and you still may have 20, 30, 40, 50 records, who knows, you're not ready to attach them to a job order yet, but in terms of having a working papers file, a project file? Yeah, put them in a folder called Launch Vehicle Candidates from RESUMate. Now, let's say that you know that you got to do better. You're not really happy with what you see, and so you want to go out to other sources. Well, as you recruit, whether with just people giving you, hey, you should touch base with this person. It could be another recruiter. It could be anything. Whatever other sources you're using for this job, click them into another group. The same basic title, Launch Vehicle People or Launch Vehicle Candidates, other sources. Now you're building up another useful tool in that you're going to see when the job is over, what do they have as inventory when I started? What do they have to go out and recruit for? Also, if you do this, you could see any recruiter's initials, since that's an automatic function in RESUMate, who did the recruiting, who found the successful candidate. So having an other sources subfolder might be helpful in terms of as you tie out the job and analyze it and see what you learned and whether you were successful or not, and if so, why or why not. So I think having a separate group is a good idea. Having a target recruit companies group. Let's say that you did what I was describing earlier. You go to a directory product and you do a search of the directory for companies that would appear potentially to be useful in terms of filling this order, put them into a group. Because the idea now is that anytime you want to work that search assignment, you've got your project folder right on your screen electronically. No need for paperwork, no need for filing. It's all on the screen and all very simply organized. And my final fourth group here says highly qualified launch designers. The idea is when a search is done, let's assume that only one person, sometimes more than one person can be part of the search assignment, but typically it's a single individual. So, one person got the job, but possibly two or three people were finalists, and you've done the reference checks, you've done the extended interview yourself with the person on the phone. In other words, this person is much better known to you than typical records in the database, and you know what this person brings to the table. Well, and that's why I called it highly qualified. So click those people into a final closeout group so that if you ever do get something similar, doesn't have to be identical, something similar, you've got a hardcore batch of people a click away, double click away, that would be your starting point for a future assignment. So groups has many purposes. I think it's just a daily organizing tool, but it can also be used, to keep a search organized. The concept is that searches don't happen in a day. They happen typically anyway, they happen over a time slice, whether it's 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months. You want to keep organized. You want to be able to pop that folder on your screen in this case rather than on your desk, a paper folder, but an electronic folder that has all of your working papers, for that project. I think that's kind of it. So I appreciate your attending, and we'll talk again next time. The next seminar is on cross-filing candidates with jobs, so that's another topic for another day. So thanks for attending today, and we'll continue on. Thanks.